Welcome to our YouTube channel. The war between Russia and Ukraine is about to enter its second year, and neither side is showing signs of slowing down. In the beginning of the war on the 24th of February 2022, Putin thought that the Russian army would capture Kiev in a few days. They didn't expect the fierce resistance from the Ukrainian people and army that they have been facing since the start of the war. Putin counted on his big army that outnumbers Ukraine's. However, the Russians suffered huge losses, not only in terms of personnel, but also weapons and military installations. The losses of the Russian army up to this point are as follows: almost 120,000 personnel, more than 3,000 tanks, more than 500 aircraft and helicopters, 17 ships and boats, almost 1,900 unmanned aircraft, more than 6,200 armored vehicles, and thousands of combat vehicles and air defense systems. One of the main reasons for these huge, unexpected losses on the Russian side is the military aid that Ukraine receives from the West. Without the military aid from the West, Ukraine wouldn't have any chance of defending their territory against Russia, which uses its military power as a brutal force to reach its goals in this war. The help from the West is probably something that the Kremlin didn't expect, at least not to this extent, because the military aid that Ukraine receives from Europe and the US is continuously increasing. It is not only increasing in the number of weapons, the types of weapons they receive are getting more advanced as well. For example, until recently, most European countries and the US were not eager to send heavy tanks and advanced missile systems to Ukraine. This has changed in the last few weeks, as more and more Western countries have announced that they will send more advanced weapons systems to Ukraine. There is a simple reason for this. According to recent statements made by Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov, there is a potential for a new Russian offensive in the spring. In an interview with the BBC, Reznikov said that the Russians may launch an attack from areas they have previously seized in the south and east of Ukraine. He noted that spring is the best time for military maneuvers and that they should be prepared. Reznikov also expressed concerns that Russia may be stockpiling resources such as weapons and ammunition for a potential offensive. The Ukrainian defense minister emphasized the need for readiness and vigilance in the face of potential aggression by Russia. Another fact that strengthens this prediction is that Belarus has begun carrying out joint air force drills with Russia. The military exercises will last for 2 weeks, and they come amid concerns that Moscow may be pressuring Minsk to join the war in Ukraine. While the Russian Defense Ministry has insisted that the drills will be defensive in nature, we have to remind ourselves that it is Ukraine that is continuing to come under Russia's invasion. The fierce battle for Soledar also strengthens this claim. As we know, Soledar is just a small town in Bakhmut and doesn't have a direct strategic importance for neither Ukraine nor Russia. However, Russia was still determined to capture the town despite losing thousands of soldiers. This is because Soledar is a gateway to Bakhmut, which is probably one of the regions that the Russian army would attack again in a potential new offensive in the spring. On the other hand, as stated earlier, Soledar is also not a strategic location for Ukraine because they have already formed defense lines to protect Bakhmut. But still, the Ukrainian army is still resisting the Russians, and especially the Wagner group, because even though they probably won't be able to drive them out of the town, they have managed and continue to inflict heavy losses to the Russian army. Even though the Ukrainian army successfully defended and recaptured most of the cities that Russia invaded, it is clear that this can't be maintained without more military aid, especially if Russia indeed launches a new offensive in the spring. Europe and the US know this. Therefore, last week, multiple European nations have finally answered the long-standing call of President Volodymyr Zelensky to provide modern battle tanks to Ukraine. France, Poland, and the United Kingdom have pledged to send tanks to assist the Ukrainian military in protecting themselves from Russia. Finland is also contemplating following suit. The United Kingdom plans to send a dozen Challenger, 2 tanks and artillery systems to intensify support for Ukraine. President Zelensky expressed his gratitude to the Prime Minister of the UK for the decisions that will not only strengthen them on the battlefield, but also send the right signal to other partners. Polish President Duda, speaking alongside Zelensky in the Ukrainian city of Lviv, hopes that tanks from Western allies will soon sail through various routes to Ukraine and will be able to strengthen the defense of Ukraine. This move has put pressure on Germany, which last week said it would transfer infantry fighting vehicles to Kiev, but is yet to commit to sending tanks. The German Chancellor has insisted that any such plan would need to be fully coordinated with the whole of the Western alliance, including the United States. Western officials have informed CNN that the decision by some countries but not others to send more tanks is part of a broader assessment of what is happening on the ground in Ukraine. NATO allies have spent recent weeks talking in detail about which countries are best placed to provide specific types of assistance, whether military equipment or money. Germany's support is considered crucial as 13 European countries, including Poland and Finland, possess modern German Leopard 2 tanks. These tanks, which were first introduced in 1979 and have been upgraded multiple times, are considered one of the best battle tanks in the world. Typically, re-export of these tanks would require approval from the German government, but Berlin has indicated that it would not block their transfer to Kiev. The German Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck said on Thursday that Germany should not stand in the way of other countries taking decisions to support Ukraine, independent of which decisions Germany takes. German Deputy Government spokeswoman Hoffmann said on Friday that they have not received an official request from Poland or Finland. She said that there is no question to which they would have to say no, but they are in a constant exchange about what is the right thing to do at this point in time and how they best support Ukraine. In December, Ukraine's most senior military commander stated that the military required around 300 tanks to defeat the Russians. The European Council on Foreign Relations estimates that around 2,000 Leopard tanks are present across Europe. The Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine said on Thursday that he is confident that the tanks promised by European partners will be delivered quickly, and that Ukrainian armed forces will be able to master their use within weeks. The decision by NATO members to send tanks to Ukraine is not without controversy. German diplomats have privately expressed their concern that it marks an escalation in the West's response to Russia and will be viewed as a provocation in Moscow. However, other European officials argue that the West has already transferred plenty of other advanced weapons that have been used to kill Russians, and that sending additional tanks is not a significant escalation. Diplomats have also stated that there is disagreement among European allies as to whether sending tanks and more weapons is the fastest and most effective way to bring the conflict to an end. According to a recent Eurobarometer poll, 74% of European citizens support providing assistance to Ukraine, which means that if Germany decides to move in line with France, the UK and Poland, it will likely have the political support to do so. It is expected that the UK and France will continue to pressure Germany to join them in their efforts in the coming days, which would mean that the three major European powers will be in lockstep as the war approaches its one-year anniversary. Do you think that the West should increase their military aid to Ukraine or stop sending new weapons because it will only escalate the conflict? Will the Russian offensive, which could probably happen in the spring, be Russia's last try to annex Ukraine? Please like and subscribe to support our channel. Thanks for watching.